it's just the right thing to do.
It's a big decision for Arkansas voters.
It is extremely safe. It does help many, many, many illnesses.
2 measures, 1 goal: legalize medical marijuana in the natural state. But is it medicine or menace?
It is not good medical practice.
It's a Trojan horse to recreational use of marijuana.
Tonight, both sides of the debate get their say. We'll explore in depth both issues on the ballot and look at how legal medical marijuana in a nearby state impacts everyday life.
We are a $45 million industry.
There was a lot of unintended consequences.
It saved my daughter's life, and it could save millions of other people's lives.
Live from the KARK studios in downtown Little Rock, this is a special presentation from your local election headquarters. Medicine or Menace, a medical marijuana forum.
Good evening, I'm Drew Petrimo. Over the next half hour, we will examine the 2 measures on the November ballot that would legalize medical marijuana in Arkansas. We'll show you how they're similar and how they're different. Plus, we'll get into the vast opposition to both measures, from the governor to state office holders to law enforcement. A lot of high-ranking people don't want medical cannabis legalized. And later, we head west. I'll show you the effects of medical marijuana and what it's had on a nearby state a decade after becoming legal. And we want to hear from you during the forum. Tweet us along using the hashtag ARMarijuana. We'll be monitoring your thoughts and questions throughout the show. We begin with the Arkansas ballot. You'll see them as issues 6 and 7. Before you vote, we want you to know how they're alike and how they're different. We begin with issue 7, the Arkansas Medical Cannabis Act. Ashley Ketz introduces us to its sponsor.
It does help many, many, many illnesses, and including saving lives from cancer.
For Melissa Fultz, it's people first, politics second in her push to legalize medical marijuana in the state of Arkansas.
Go talk to a parent who has a seizure disorder child that instead of every 10 minutes their child having a seizure, only has maybe 1 a week.
Fultz group, Arkansans for Compassionate Care, led the push for legalization 4 years ago, falling just short at the ballot box.
In 2012, there wasn't as much information. Since then, there's been a lot of research done.
Of the 2 measures on this year's ballot, the Arkansas Medical Cannabis Act is more expansive. It would allow cannabis prescription for more than 3 dozen conditions and contains a grow-your-own provision, allowing some patients to grow cannabis in their own homes instead of having to go to a dispensary.
There are going to be people that are long distances from some of the dispensaries. We just don't feel it's fair that we omit some of the patients that truly need it.
But with the concern from many opponents that legal medical cannabis could be abused, grow your own isn't a sure thing at the ballot box. Fultz says that concern is overblown.
Are there people that may abuse it? Are there people that may abuse opiates? Are there people that may abuse chocolate? Are there people that may abuse their authority? Yes, but are you going to throw out all the chocolate, all the authority, all the medications, everything just because someone might abuse it?
The measure is an initiated act, not a constitutional amendment, and would be subject to revisions from the General Assembly.
There are some changes that could be good changes. I don't think they'll really bother with it unless there is some things that they could do to improve it.
Cannabis legalization would take a very different path under issue 6, the Arkansas Medical Marijuana Amendment. Bob Clausen shows us why its sponsor says he's taking a more practical approach to the hurdles he faces.
David Couch has also been here before.
Melissa and I did this in 2012, and we came very close to getting it done.
Couch and Fultz worked together 4 years ago, working to get medical marijuana legalized. When that measure fell short, neither gave up, but the 2 went separate directions, and now they have very different ideas about what should happen next.
If you look at the polls in the state of Arkansas, if you ask that generic question, 80% of the people support it.
Couch says he's certain voters will approve medical marijuana, but has doubts about some of the ideas in the Arkansas Medical Cannabis Act, primarily the grow your own provision.
The polling still indicates that if you include a provision that allows people to grow your own medical marijuana, no matter how limited that grow may be, you just don't get over 50% of the people of the state of Arkansas to support it.
And he says there are practical reasons to oppose that as well.
You don't make your own OxyContin, you don't make your own penicillin. You buy it at a pharmacy. So it's the same thing with respect to, medical marijuana.
And unlike Fultz's idea, Couch backs a constitutional amendment that puts the issue out of the hands of the legislature.
Once it's legalized, the General Assembly cannot unlegalize it, and they can't go in and monkey with the number of dispensaries it allowed.
Under Couch's amendment, Arkansans suffer from a variety of ailments to qualify for a medical cannabis prescription, but it's less than half the number of medical conditions covered by the Medical Cannabis Act. Still, both Couch and Foltz agree legalization in some form is vital for people who need another option.
It's the compassionate and it's the right thing to do for people who are suffering.
Some of the many differences between Issue 6 and Issue 7. Issue 6 does not allow Arkansans to grow their own medical cannabis. Issue 7 does for patients who live more than 20 miles away from a dispensary. Issue 6 covers 17 qualifying medical conditions. Issue 7 covers 56. Issue 6 sends half the revenue collected from medical marijuana to various state agencies. Issue 7 sends it back to the program. Worth noting, if voters pass both measures, the one with more votes will supersede the other and become law. Now, neither will become law without a fight. Medical marijuana has met fierce resistance from various levels of state and local government and from law enforcement.
Initiatives that will be on the ballot do not lead to good medicine. It is not good medical practice, and it is not best for the patient.
A doctor can't prove if you have pain or not. And so it's quite easy for a person to say, my back hurts, I have a headache, I need marijuana. It's a Trojan horse to recreational use of marijuana. Think of all of the problems that we have in our city and put it through your intelligent mind and ask yourself, will marijuana fix that?
Now, we wanted to gain some firsthand knowledge about the impact medical marijuana has on a state. So we went to New Mexico, where it's been legal for nearly 10 years. The state has roughly the same number of qualifying conditions as the proposed constitutional amendment, but there's also a home grow provision like the initiated act. During our trip, we met Amelia Nunez. She's 10 months old and the youngest medical marijuana patient in New Mexico. She suffers from epilepsy, and life-threatening seizures started just days after she was born. Traditional medicine didn't help, so her mother turned to cannabis.
We just completed 7 months yesterday of being seizure-free. I still get emotional over it because if it wasn't for trying cannabis, I would have pretty much a lifeless baby.
We provide medical oncology, radiation oncology in the same
Dr. Annette Fontaine is an oncologist at the New Mexico Cancer Center. She says it's a big help to some of her patients.
The medical marijuana helps with their appetite so they can maintain their nutrition during treatment. They're having significant fatigue, having significant nausea. These are the patients that benefit the most.
But legal cannabis has impacted more than the lives of patients.
Torrance 1 dispatch, I'll be clear my last.
Heath White is a county sheriff and president of the New Mexico Sheriff's Association. He says drug cartels have infiltrated the business.
They'll have someone who has applied legally to grow marijuana for that purpose, and then after they get established, they come in and pretty much strong-arm them.
And he says easy access to medical cannabis cards makes it simple for New Mexicans to get pot for recreational use.
Back alley doctors who will come into New Mexico, write hundreds and hundreds of prescriptions for a person to use medical marijuana when they don't have any symptoms at all.
Business interests also feeling the impact.
There was a lot of unintended consequences.
The New Mexico Association of Commerce and Industry says employers could be held liable for accidents involving employees who are using medical cannabis. Legalization and subsequent court rulings also force employers to pay for the drug for employees on workers' comp.
It's negatively going to impact the employers in certain ways it has here in New Mexico. That is going to disadvantage you in job creation and business investment and hurt the economy moving forward.
During our trip, we also spent time speaking with regular people. How are you guys doing? From a news station in Arkansas. They're about to have a vote back home to decide about whether or not they should make medical marijuana legal. So they sent us here to figure out what the impact has been so we can tell folks back home. Do you think that it's had any, over this past time, had any ill effects on society, on the state that you've noticed?
Not that I've noticed. It's not really a big part of my life.
It hasn't affected me.
But it hasn't really affected your life?
No. Not at all.
Oh, no, I haven't seen nothing. No negative impact. No, nothing at all.
You haven't noticed any vices that have taken over New Mexico since it passed?
No.
It's a small sample size, but consider this. After 10 years of medical marijuana, a recent poll showed 61% of New Mexicans now support full legalization for anyone over 21 years old. And efforts are already underway to make that happen. Now, when we come back, we will debate the merits of medical marijuana in Arkansas. The sponsors of both measures are here, along with Arkansas Surgeon General Greg Bledsoe and State Senator Jeremy Hutchinson. Stay with us.